The Arts Council is thrilled to support Cruite Harp and Harp Ireland, and the introduction of Harp Day is a really exciting initiative. It will help the instrument reach many more members of the public, and it will introduce innovative artists who are engaging with the instrument in so many fascinating ways. There's so many collaborations as part of Harp Day throughout the country, and there's so many interesting new approaches, collaborations with nature, collaborations between generations. The harp, of course, has been with us in Ireland for 1,000 years, but what's really thrilling now is to see the innovative approach to the instrument in 2021. So I wish everybody involved in Harp Day the very best of luck. I know it's going to be a fantastic initiative, and I know it's going to excite huge numbers of the public throughout Ireland.
Tá fáilteoibhaisteach ag ceolchoirm na féile lá na Cruite Harp Day 2021. Harps from all corners of the world are going to be heard chiming out on our channel here tonight, and we are very, very grateful to everybody who's taken part. We are grateful and acknowledge the great backroom team that has been working so hard to put this event out, harpers all over the world who have rowed in to our Harpers Call and our Humans of the Harp conversations that I'm sure you've been watching online, and indeed to our collaborators who have taken part in our experiments, our risky experiments. People like Intel, UCD Explore, the Irish Traditional Music Archive, who have produced this wonderful piece that you're just going to hear now, Gráinne Yeats' Legacy, her collection, which is stored in the Irish Traditional Music Archive. And last but not least, our keynote sponsor on Chorla Alien, the Arts Council, without whom none of this could be possible. So Biggie Portach, Biggie Lynn, Bonagi Danav as Ceolna Isha Nacht, Lána Cruite, Harp Day 2021.
Gráinne Yeats was a musician who had a really multifaceted career as a performer, an educator, teacher, lecturer, and really an advocate for and an authority on the harp.
Gráinne Yeats was a very special person. She was an innovator, she was a harper, singer, scholar, historian, and broke so many boundaries that it's almost impossible to detail them.
Gráinne Yeats operated at a time where harping and the making and playing of that music was at a really low point. And without her, you would question, would we have the hugely vibrant scene we have at the moment for both the wire-strung harp and other contemporary practices in traditional Irish harping.
So she was an arranger and teacher, and really one of the founding people of the modern harp revival.
Gráinne Yeats was the daughter of S.P. O'Hagerty and Rebecca Smith. And S.P. O'Hagerty was a member of the Irish Republican Brotherhood, and Rebecca was a member of Connemara. Gráinne had a bilingual upbringing, and the family spent many holidays in the Gaeltacht.
Well, cuasaí teann agus Gráinne is doch an rud is mó a rithean numsan nar a bhéan ní lára mar riamh ní chéile i méarla. Ní hé go raibh rud ní cinenne a bhíanana agus gáil ní a duine mar sin agus bhrasta go bin an teanga a bhí adra. Bin chuir is aithne éire trí bhile agus bin so níor bhéan cheistríomh na hebh. So bhí sport adra an gáil agus a gáil ní an bhile.
Agus híl mé in dhé sin go mar sleachta a slíomhtú. Agus híl mé in dhé sin go mar lochan nó dhéthú. Nó go mar tú an réalt ólais a dul Rome is mar dhéthú.
She studied piano and singing in the Royal Irish Academy of Music. She was a classically trained singer. She performed Bach and Handel, sang with the Darland Consort. She became very interested in the harp when she heard Joan O'Hara, the actress, play the harp in the Abbey. And Joan O'Hara, as we know, is the sister of Mary O'Hara, the very well-known harp player and singer. The story that Gráinne herself would have told was that when her first child was born, Catriona, who later became a renowned pedal harpist, concert harpist, that she was out walking her buggy in Churchtown, where they lived at the time, with a very good friend of hers, Elizabeth Hannon. Gráinne said she had heard this woman, Joan O'Hara, playing the harp, and she thought, I'd like to learn that. And Elizabeth said immediately, well, I'll learn it too. And that's how Gráinne's love affair with the harp began.
Irish harping goes way, way back for over 1,000 years. If we go back to the 12th century with people like Geraldus Cambrensis, who had nothing good to say about Ireland and certainly not about its people, but he had something good to say about Irish harping and the quality of its playing. By the late 18th century, you have what was in danger of becoming the very last of the bardic harper tradition. So in 1792, you have the Belfast Harp Gathering. They employed a young Edward Bunting, who was an organist at the time, to notate these melodies. Edward Bunting published his first collection in 1796 or 1797. Some people argue to toss over the exact publication date. But they weren't accessed that often, and Gráinne Yeats comes into this picture then. Danger taking for granted the effort and inspiration and passion it takes to revive a tradition, and it can be traced through Gráinne Yeats right back to Bunting, right back beyond our written history.
So Gráinne played the modern Irish harp, of course, and the early Irish harp. The difference between the two would be that the modern Irish harp was the brainchild of John Egan, the very famous and extremely gifted pedal harp builder who was here in Dublin on Dawson Street at the turn of the 19th century. And he came up with, of course, a smaller version of his pedal harp with the same tuning, the same construction type. The modern Irish harp was strung with the gut strings of the pedal harp. The early Irish harp is, organologically speaking, a completely different instrument. So it's a medieval construction type, very simple construction type. If you imagine the tripartite triangular frame of a harp, you have the pillar, you have the neck, and the resonating chamber is in fact one single log of wood, strung with metal strings. For a lot of its history played with long nails, and then in the 18th century no longer, that was dying out. So the aesthetic, the music, the approach, everything is quite different to the modern harp.
Really, she was one of the first people to look into the wire-strung harp and really explore both the properties of the instrument in terms of creating replicas, looking into string gauges and dimensions of the instrument.
She would have travelled with Micheál, who, as we know, is the son of W.B. Yeats, and Micheál lectured on the university circuit, and then Gráinne would have played the harp, sang, talked about the music of the harpers. And indeed, it was in the States there that she met J. Witcher, the harp maker, who made her first wire-strung harp. And she had gone to all kinds of ends to get somebody here to make her a wire-strung harp. She tried a furniture maker and that fell through. She tried an aeronautical engineer and that fell through.
As such, I would characterise her as the first practice research harpist in Ireland. Practice research is a fairly new academic term, and it includes I suppose, rebuilding old instruments, building copies of them so that we can see what they teach us. And also the other side of that coin is looking at the earliest sources or the most reliable sources to see what they teach us and to put those two things together.
One of the first people really to bring it to the forefront of performance as well. And she really performed across Ireland and internationally, so she really created an international platform for the instrument.
I get the impression that she was basically sort of laughed at, and people said to her, like, what's the point of that old thing? Like, why would you be doing that? But like all curmudgeonly pioneers, she stuck to her guns and thought, no, this is what I want to do.
She could be abrasive sometimes if she wasn't, you know, if someone hadn't, again, if the homework wasn't done, or if things weren't, if you weren't paying the proper respect to whatever was around, she wouldn't mince her words, you know. So we were in Amsterdam at the European Harp Symposium. Myself and Anne-Marie O'Farrell were playing, and Gráinne was giving the lecture, and we were playing, one of the pieces we were going to play was Lady Dillon. It was in two parts. It was a sort of a 4/4 and then a sort of a jig at the end. And Gráinne came to us before the lecture. She was, now, don't start that too fast, because the jig is really a tricky one, and if you get there too fast, it's on your own head, you know.
A lot of people will say to you that she was acerbic, she was sharp, she was critical, but it was always in the most constructive way. And she always would come back, and if she felt she was in the wrong, she would rectify it and say, you know, I was wrong there. But she really believed passionately in what she was doing. And I suppose, you know, when you have people like that, it's my way or no way. And that's the only way that you actually succeed.
She was really meticulous in everything she did. She had very, very high standards, and that comes across throughout her work. From international performances to lessons for beginners, you can see that there's the same attention to detail and professionalism throughout.
Happy with that?
If there's time, could I do one more? Yes. There was one part that wasn't quite Gráinne. The chords were a little substituted.
So my name is Maeve Gabrurs, and I'm the archivist here at the Irish Traditional Music Archive. So it's a multimedia collection, and it's one of the larger collections that we have here in ITMA. So we would call it, in describing it, a FON. So that means that we have the entirety of the collection here in ITMA. There are those sound recordings, reel-to-reel, cassettes, vinyl LPs. There's quite a lot of published books in her collection. I think herself and her husband Michael were real bibliophiles, and I do get the sense that they scoured the second-hand bookshops for, you know, really interesting books on Irish music, anything really to do with the harp and to do with Irish music. So there's some really interesting original manuscripts in the collection. So this is, it's dated 1816. We don't really know anything about it. We have had a researcher look at this, and she was saying that there's some very interesting arrangements, there's some Irish tunes in it, but there's a mixture of Scottish, English and Irish material. There's one there, the Irish Cry. There's also a wonderful collection of programmes very specific to the 50s, 60s and 70s. All the venues you could think of, the Gaiety, the Royal Irish Academy, the Peacock Theatre. She seemed to be very active in going to anything that was on in Dublin, and of course very much music orientated as well. But it's a fantastic snapshot of events that would have been happening in Dublin at that time. This is a real mix. There's the O'Carrollin Harping Festival, Dublin International Festival of Music and Arts. Yeah, and then she was very involved in the celebrations in 1992 to commemorate the Belfast Harp Festival. Of course, what's of real interest to ITMA, the unique material that is within her collection. So it ranges from correspondence to lecture notes.
She was an ardent photographer, and she would have taken photographs of harps wherever she went in the world. There was a wonderful collection of slides where she travelled to Ireland looking at the high crosses and looking at the sites for where harps were replicated. These were all organised in a really scholarly academic way, with little white cards associated with her, what she wanted to say about each harp.
There's recordings, really detailed notes on her own performances, and she was very much a reflective practitioner. She kept notes on repertoire, on audience numbers, audience reaction.
She went to India, Japan, Russia, travelled all over Europe, and we have some great notebooks from her time abroad. Each day she would write detailed diary entries about who she met and what she did and where she went. So you can see in her correspondence and in her travels and in her photographs trips to harp workshops. So there's a great selection of photographs of her time in Japan in 1972, I think it was. She went to Aoyama. He was a harp maker. There's some wonderful Fuji-color photographs of her trip to that workshop, of sort of half-finished harps hanging on the ceiling upside down, and the wood that's going to be used to make harps, you know, in the future. And then you can see her sitting in a Japanese guest house afterwards with no shoes on her feet, playing the harp that obviously she had collected from the harp maker that day. So, yeah. Holidays in the Soviet Union. So she did tour in the Soviet Union in Russia. So you never know what you're going to find in here. So there's our harp key. She's speaking here about the wildlife. There is a small animal native to this island called quagga. This is a small marsupial and looks like a large rat. The Dutch, who were the first travellers here, called the island rodent's nest, meaning rat's nest. There's something. Built a prison for Aboriginals, a reformatory for bad boys, and prisoner camps for World War I and II. And the prison camps are gone, and the reformatory has been converted to a hotel. Lovely.
Offers enormous potential because you have the work of a musician and their research as a real source for future interpretation and reimagining of work, because Gráinne's material, it was so foundational and so important for all of the harp players that came after her that it's a very exciting prospect to revisit some of that music and some of those arrangements and do something really new and exploratory with the materials.
It's really a gift from the Yeats family to the state. It's a gift to researchers who want to know more about what Gráinne was thinking and Gráinne's interests and insights into harping. It's an opportunity for contemporary artists to come and seek inspiration in her work and her life. It's an opportunity to reflect on the role of women in collecting and working for traditional Irish music in the 20th century.
The Yeats family embodies a tradition of Protestant culture. A notable family of painters produced two geniuses, both of whom combined their own observance with the conscious of the realities of modern Irish life. Talking about the men, of course, now. Stop talking about Gráinne. Daughter of the idiosyncratic Secretary of Posts and Telegraphs, P.S. O'Hegarty, she was steeped in the other cultural heritage. Her father wrote a great deal in Irish for various journals, sent his children to the Gaeltacht for their holidays, rode around the city on a bike, and showed vigorous independence of mind. All about him.
It's really well known that despite some amazing work that has been done over the last 50, 60 years, there is still an underrepresentation of the role that women have played. It's not that those women weren't present, it's that the work hasn't really been done and their presence hasn't been highlighted in the way that it needs to be. By digitising and making the collection accessible, it really opens the door to other academics and musicians to engage with the work of a very important woman collector.
So it is a difficult instrument, but oh, the sound of it is so gorgeous. It can send you into another world. The aspect of singing is being neglected. The people are largely giving up singing to the harp. They're all playing it all the time as an instrument, which is a pity. I hope that the singing will come back.
You are very welcome to the UCD Evolution Garden. My name is Phil Smith and I am the Outreach and Impact Scientist here at UCD Discovery. Now, we've put together a pretty snazzy event for you this evening with help from Intel Ireland, Harp Ireland and UCD Explore. And what UCD Explore does here is it takes kids from all areas around Dublin and brings them into UCD to teach them about science, technology, engineering and maths, STEM. And the idea isn't to turn everybody into a scientist, but to show them and to show you that science can make your life better, more efficient. It's about getting on a little bit better. So what about the snazzy event we have this evening? Well, to help me introduce it, we have Éadaoin McCran from Harp Ireland. So Éadaoin, what's happening this evening?
So actually what's happening this evening is that we're having this fantastic voyage of exploration, looking at 3 totally different harps, one played with the fingernails, one a lever harp played with the finger pads, and this beautiful creation from Intel, which is a laser harp. And we've decided we're putting the 3 of them together to kind of wed 3 traditions from the 1,000-year-old tradition right through to the present day, marry technology and art, and have 3 harpers play in totally different ways to celebrate Cruite Harp Day.
So that sounds ambitious. It sounds like there's a lot going in, but also I didn't realise, like 1,000 years old, like there's a lot going into this.
Yes, and actually when we were getting this idea together, what really tickled our fancy, both you and I, was that we had this 1,000-year-old tradition that I was speaking about, where the harp was played with the nails, where we were looking at this laser harp, where you're literally drawing your fingers across and you're getting this response from sound, and it struck me, well, why not bring the lever harp into it as well, with the gut strings played by the finger pads.
And harping has been internationally recognised.
Yes, and the really exciting thing about it here is that we actually have 3 totally different harps, but what has been recognised is the art of harping. And when you look at the way these harps have been played, you just celebrate the way that the tradition of harping has evolved, and you see why that has been recognised on the UNESCO list of intangible cultural heritage, which in fact was awarded to Irish harping in 2019.
Which is fabulous, and I can think of nothing better than going to listen to Cormac play our laser harp right now. Cormac, that was impressive. It looked a little bit difficult though. How was it to play?
Well, it was different because there's no kickback, there's no strings to touch, so if you play air harp with a difference, so finding it. It was really hard to get the two hands to like playing a chord at the same time, because judging you end up, rather than playing like strings you play this way, whereas these you kind of have to sort of dip in and out to get a clear sound and not be crisscrossing the differences. It took a while to get the kind of action going, but then to judge that with the two hands at the same time and find it, I couldn't work. It just wasn't happening. So it's just the distance apart, and it's the scale. It's not the strings are spaced differently, or the beams of light.
Yes.
So those lasers. So I just thought to focus on one hand is the way to do it. So you know what? Don't try this. Just do. But what I liked about what was handy is you can play chords and you can play ornaments and you can play just as you would, as long as you can find them in the right place. So it was just a question of sort of going from this to sort of that.
So there's an adjustment to playing something like this. Yeah. So not being able to see the strings, but also the spacing of them was a little bit different. Yeah. The tune though sounded familiar.
Well, it was Dilly No Doubt. It's like my grandmother had a TV show in the 80s. I was the same. We were the kids
Claim
on that
to fame.
With her harp.
Lovely.
And I thought, why not? Also, it's a pentatonic tune. It's one of those tunes that you can actually play all the strings on all the notes that you need for that tune are there, bar one little passing note which we left out. But it was just fun to try and work out a tune that you had to kind of aim. And I had the red light at the bottom. You could find your way a little bit, but it was a bit of a challenge. But it took a while. But I kind of got into it, and it's actually fun when you get the.
Oh, that's what I was just going to ask. Yeah. Is there fun? Is the playing with it with something a bit different? Is there exploration a bit of crack?
It is very much so. And actually, the ornaments are easier to play in the air than they are to try and find a string. So they were lighter, the zero touch, the lighter touch, but they're not. I guess to try next step would be to have the full scale, the full the 8 notes that we have, and if you have a 8 notes, can I find them all? It's easier to you can't go wrong if you know where you're going at this one. You have sort of the path is there, whereas with more beams comes more potential disaster.
Potential for disaster, potential for success.
Absolutely.
But that's where everywhere in art and science ends up in the end.
That's the thing, Oh, I love it, and the potential is there for far more. So it was very enjoyable. I'm glad I got to master at least one tune.
The risk reward of adding even more lasers, and obviously as science and art there's always that little bit more, that next step to go.
There is, and rather than the levers I'd have a little flick on the system, you could press it up, reprogram it, tune it different keys. That'd be my first thing, is to actually be able to on board somewhere just be able to change the keys, and then I'd be happy, lots more exploring to do then.
That's it, we never stop. Now, to find out why such an interesting and cool apparatus exists, I went out earlier in the week to talk to Éamonn Sinnott, who's the General Manager of Intel Ireland, and I asked him, why are Intel involved in such a project like this?
I believe that science and the arts are inextricably linked. They seek to understand the world around us and to imagine future possibilities. When science and the arts collide, the energy present at that collision can lead to new and beautiful realities. As a symbol of that collision, in collaboration with UCD Explore, we are very proud to support the creation of a laser-strung harp and a corresponding education programme tailor-made for primary school students. The laser harp we have commissioned, made by artist Thomas Freer, is beautifully crafted from cedar and is played when the musician's hands intersect the laser beams. I love it, because to me it's a celebration of Ireland's achievements in science and the arts, built right into our national emblem. And so, to mark Gráinne Cruite Harp Day, it is my pleasure that the laser harp will be played by the internationally renowned and exceptionally talented harper Cormac de Barra.
fantastic. It was really lovely to hear. I have to say, I wasn't expecting it to sound so in sync. It was just beautiful.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was actually.
I think I take my hat off to Cormac for dealing with this harp with no strings. So
the difficulty.
I love it. It's a great invention. You know, it's wonderful. It's a new departure, anyway, for sure.
I think the really interesting thing for me is that interface where technology and art come together. You know, this is a thing we're going to see more of. I already work with lasers on harps, but not as strings. I'm busy doing 3D laser scans of old harps of the National Museum so that we can build them. And now you see laser in another context entirely being the harp, being part of the harp. So it's a really interesting departure, I think.
So I mean, the advantage, I mean, just throw it in the fact that you work with lasers, fantastic. You could work here necessarily.
Well, I'd be delighted because it's something that's very close to my heart. Is where where these interfaces happen. So yeah.
Well, and I mean, like even that movement, there are fine things. You have a fine instrument, Rachel, beside you. Lots of levers on yours. How is yours different necessarily to the other harps?
So that's exactly it. We have 34 strings and each has its own lever, which allows us to raise the pitch a semitone on each string, and I suppose just quite a big range as well on the harp.
And is there an advantage to playing yours as opposed to the laser harp, or is there something that's very different?
I suppose you can move between the keys quite easily, which is quite nice. But we do have a lot of tuning, which you don't have to deal with on the laser harp.
As Cormac smiles.
The first time I was coming here at the harp in the back of the car, and I was halfway here, and I realised, God, I have no key. I went, I don't need to tune this thing, I just turn it on. So that's different.
Window down, like a harp in the background is good.
Yeah, fine.
Actually, there's a bit more of a link between the laser harp and my harp because you have a pentatonic scale tuned on the laser harp, and I play a lot of pentatonic music on an old Irish harp because this, of course, is the Ireland's ancient harp that died out around 1800, and a lot of the music is modal. It's not in sort of major and minor keys like modern music. So I play pentatonic tunes, and we can sort of share tunes between the laser harp and the old harp.
So it's like kind of pairing up. Rachel, I mean, like you were part of the whole ensemble here. How did you feel performing with the other instruments?
I think it was really interesting to hear all the different timbres and how they can work together. Was quite nice, and just exploring different things. I think it's lovely. And
I think that's quite, you've hit the nail on the head there with this exploring idea in terms of and this is an exploration. Is this the evolution of harps going forward, Siobhán?
Well, of course, I always have difficulty with the word evolution because that implies a sort of slow, gradual change.
Sure.
And moving from less sophisticated to more sophisticated. So I suppose these harps didn't evolve one from the other. They're sort of temporally spaced through the centuries. This is the old one that we had it for about 800 years at least, dies out in 1800, and then just as the ancestor of Rachel's harp comes into being in Dublin. So that's an Irish instrument that's invented here in Ireland, and of course now we have this. But they're not particularly linked to each other, but we see them all in their different temporal spaces, and now we get a chance to sort of explore and experiment with them together.
And the link that we found with this, picking the tune we chose, Mayo, it's the tune for that harp was so. But it was the first thing when all of us heard we tried this harp the first time. The first choose out Monologue because that's the scale is right. The notes, I can't change key in this harp. I'm sure you covered that. You could reprogram it, I'm sure, but I have no key for that. So it just married straight away. We think we just locked in without any great effort.
Because Molly Vaughan is the very first tune that the 18th century harpers taught their students. That was the first didactic tune. So isn't that lovely that we take an ancient Irish harp tune and then it goes straight through the lever harp and then onto the laser harp.
I mean, what a perfect place to start. It's always like tradition, science, art are meeting together as well, and a perfect, as Siobhán, Cormac and Rachel came together to play something beautiful for us this evening. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're so welcome.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you so much for joining us here at the UCD Evolution Garden, and on behalf of UCD Explore, it's been our pleasure having you. I've been enthralled with the three harps that we've had, and it's been wonderful hearing the three of them performing together.
And a massive thank you to Intel, in fact, who made this laser harp for UCD Explore and who gave us this opportunity to trace the evolution of harping from 1,000 years right through to the present day.
For more information on Gráinne Cruite Harp Day, go to harpireland.ie, and for other information, keep an eye on Intel's website, on UCD Explore's website, and anywhere you see scientists playing laser harps. There's bound to be one somewhere. There's one right here. See you next time.
I'm going to start off with a bit of a song for you. This song is sung in the sean-nós style, one of the oldest forms of Irish music, and I was fortunate enough to grow up in an area steeped in this tradition in the west of Connemara. This song is called Annach Cún and tells the story of the boating tragedy of Éadaoin, a tragedy that killed hundreds of men, women and children back a couple of hundred years ago. Very, very poignant story, but a very, very beautiful air all the same. So I'll give you that one, Annach Cún, and I'll follow that with a reel called Martin Wins Number 2.
Ha cuman na clársaigh le tolite I bhí mar farst de chóthracha Cruite Éadaoin in dú. An an blianna sonrite a ha a cóthracha channe a bhain céhir fichid sa deich blianna gain hín ach cuideach in Cerative Féis Chláirseach Internationalta Gnéidean. In bríomh hachartas ag a chumain. Le dúrach an blá gan a cóáigin chláirseach acin fá thu eile cuan na héran. Agus ha sin na céad ar ard rí móra na bharach cho oprachíon sa naim rí teach. The Clarsach Society is thrilled to be a part of Harp Ireland's celebration today, in a special year that marks not only our own 90th anniversary, but also the 40th Edinburgh International Harp Festival, the Society's headline event. Warmest wishes to our Clarsach cousins from the other side of the Irish Sea, and we look forward to many more collaborations in the future.
Hi everyone, and greetings from London. It's a beautiful autumn evening here. I'm going to play 2 tunes for you. These were arranged by my grandfather, T.C. Kelly, for the harp. The first one is Avenging and Bright, and then I'll play I Saw from the Beach.
Well, Louise and I are delighted to be joining you all today in celebrating National Harp Day, and we're here in one of the studios in the University of Limerick, and thanks so much to everybody that accommodated us today in recording this set for you. And the piece that we're going to play for you now is on the harp and on the special set of uilleann pipes here that belong to Liam O'Flynn. And the air that we're going to play for you is one of the great love songs, or An Gras, and it's called Ballintubber Abbey, the Dark Woman of the Glen. Well, I'm going to continue on with one of the great iconic harp tunes, and it's called Tuair Dom de Love, or Give Me Your Hand, which is composed by the great Rory Dowell O'Connor. Well, we're going to finish our set here today for Lorna Cruite 2021, and we're going to finish off with a couple of reels. The first one is called Vanny's Goat, the second one is called Little Jimmy Kiernan's, and the last one is called The Sailor on the Rock.
Hello everybody, Aisling Lyons here. I'm at the Irish Chamber Orchestra building at the University of Limerick, and myself and my brother Sean Lyons are going to perform for you for Harp Day. The name of the song is Love is a Beautiful Thing, and it's by Theo Katzman. And we just want to wish everybody a very happy Harp Day, and I hope you enjoy.
Love is a beautiful thing, hugging, kissing, laughing, holding hands. Love is a beautiful thing, unless it's you loving another man. Now I can't stand to see you hugging, kissing, laughing, holding him. If it's not me, you see, how could that be a thing of beauty? Love is a beautiful thing. Birds are singing songs down from the trees. Love is a beautiful thing. The breeze is blowing, rustling autumn leaves. But if those leaves are rustling underneath somebody else's feet, if it's not me, you see, how could that be a thing of beauty? I find comfort in believing over time I'll come to see someday how love can be that way. Love is a beautiful thing. Winter's rage has softened into spring. Love is a beautiful thing. And on your hand I see that there's a ring. Now I would understand if I had put that ring upon your hand. But it was not me, you see, so how could that be a thing of beauty? Oh no, ah, da, da, na, na, na. How could
spitting mythology. I'm a prodigy, quality bars of the harp rings melodically. Music is my pack, killing rhymes. Yeah, I'm on a spree, catching that degree. You can see if you follow me. Yeah, I know I got something right ahead of me. Keep the positivity, forget the bad energy. Even though the earth's oxygen depletes rapidly, we keep the sanity and faith in humanity.
I've got dreams right up to the stars, but I'm still too young, it feels way too far. My head's in the clouds up with Jupiter and Mars, but I'm passionate at heart, the guitar in my arms. Step back, make space to breathe, there's space in me, but I just have to believe in myself, and everything will fall into place. Keep my head in line and go at my own pace.
Nothing but optimism, fighting hard to make a change. Every day's a better living once you don't stay the same. We can always do with help. It's harder by yourself. We can always do with help. So come on out your shell.
Gonna push myself to follow my dreams, cause the passion that I have has me feeling so free. Gonna keep looking forward and putting in the effort, cause I know if I do, then it only gets better. If I get lost, I know I'll find my way back. This music is my future, it'll keep me on track. Visualize the praise, I got the goals in mind. Eyes open wide, I'm bringing hope to life.
I keep grinding, keep that fire lighting inside me. I'll get to where I'm going with the whole group behind me. Collaboration is my biggest inspiration. We get to where we're headed with a lot of dedication. Following dreams, whatever the means. And as I do, I go along with the team. Following dreams, whatever the means. And you better believe it's on a harp string beat.
I got this passion, wear it like it's fashion. On this runway, I'm about to make it happen. I got this passion, wear it like it's fashion. On this runway, I'm about to make it happen. Dream catching, so my nightmares are past tense. Crystal vision is so clear that I can catch them. It already feels like it's happening. I thank God, yeah, I know it's a blessing. Chasing my dreams, my dreams. Chasing my dreams, my dreams. Nothing but optimism, fighting hard to make a change. Every day's a better living once you don't stay the same. We can always do with help. It's harder by yourself. We can always do with help. So come on out your shell. Achieve what you wanna achieve. Recognize your inner beliefs. Achieve what you wanna achieve. Recognize your inner beliefs. Follow your dreams, it's not as hard as it seems. Whatever the means, you should just follow your dreams. Follow your dreams, it's not as hard as it seems. Whatever the means, you should just follow your dreams.
The hair is a very fragile thing. The life in the hair is a glassy goblet, and her yellow-fringed frost-flake belly says, fragile. The hare's bones are light glass, and the hare's face. Who lifted her face to the Lord? Her new budded nostrils and lips, for the daintiest pencilings, the last eyelash touches, delicate as the down of a moth, and the breath of awe, which fixed the mad beauty light in her look, as if her retina were a moon perpetually at full. Who is it at midnight on the A30, the druid soul, the night streaker, the sudden lumpy goblin that thumps your car under the belly, then cries with human pain and becomes a human baby on the road that you dare hardly pick up, or leaps like a long bat with little headlights straight out of darkness into the driver's nerves with a jangle of cries, as if the car had crashed into a flying harp, so that the driver's nerves flail and cry like a burst harp.
welcome. I'm Maureen and this is Chris Newman. We're going to start off by playing a set of 3 traditional Irish jigs. And these were collected by a remarkable man called Canon James Goodman, who was a Church of Ireland clergyman who lived in counties Kerry and Cork most of his life. And he collected a lot of music in the Beara Peninsula and in Skibbereen and around Skibbereen. And they were the places he lived for most of his life. And my mother comes from the Beara Peninsula and my father comes from Skibbereen. So I suppose I'm particularly interested in the music that he collected because it represents the music that my ancestors would certainly have heard, if not actually played themselves. So he lived in the early 19th century and the music that he collected is really quite beautiful. Anyway, so the first of these tunes has a fantastic title. It's called Fan Marawiltu Achlaire, which means stay where you are, you rogue. And the second one is called The Housekeeper. And the third one is called Petticoat Loose. And Petticoat Loose commemorates a lady who lived in County Waterford in the 18th century. And she was very well to do, and apparently as a result she felt that she could do what she wanted. And she scandalised the whole area. There were all kinds of rumours swirling around about her. The one was that she was a witch, and another one was that she murdered her husband to be with somebody else. She was probably just a free spirit, but anyway, she's still remembered. Petticoat Loose. So these are the 3 jigs, and hope you enjoy them. Well, now we're going to play a really beautiful tune that was composed by a man called Thomas Kennelly, who was born around 1640 in County Sligo. And he and his brother were both very well-known harper composers in the early to mid-17th century, and they composed a lot of really gorgeous tunes, which are still known today. And this is one of my absolute favourites. It was composed in honour of a lady called Molly St. George, and she was an heiress from County Galway, and she married another very well-to-do young man called Captain Manshear, who's from Munster. And the tune is absolutely beautiful, as I said. It's found in a few different collections. So the version that we play is a sort of amalgam of the two. So this is our particular version and arrangement of Molly St. George. So hope you like it. Well, we're going to finish our little spot today by playing a tune composed by a friend of ours called Andy Hornby. And it's a tune which he calls Pheasant Feathers. And it's in a complex time signature and hops around the place and it keeps us on our toes. And it's really good fun to play.